I'm not calling for regime change, but I'm just saying if the people of Iran are able to rise up, and the people of Iran, this group that I'm talking about, the national resistance, they're not asking for money. They're not asking for boots on the ground. They're saying they want to do this, but they need us, the community of nations, the Western world for sure.
Trump has left the G7 meeting with talk of him wanting to deal with the matters in the Middle East. Obviously, it's a very fast-moving situation. He's warned that people should leave Tehran because of Israeli strikes. What do you make of him leaving the G7? What should we read into that, do you think?
Well, I think that his highest priority is the safety and security of the American people. There are many Americans in Israel. We have many Americans who have dual citizenship. And so I'm sure he's very, very concerned, but also American citizens that are in Iran. He's said to the people on social media who live in Tehran, get out now. He talked to the mullahs for 60 days. He told them they had 60 days to make a deal. And sadly, they did not make that deal. And on the 61st day, we know what happened. The Israeli forces went in, and I mean, it's been pretty fast and hard. Israel keeps surprising me. They're so incredibly adaptive and innovative in how they operate warfare.
And do you think you can? So, is it? I mean, there's some talk that Witkoff might go and meet someone in from Tehran, but maybe not in Tehran, certainly from Tehran. How would a deal work? Because the notion of how much you can trust the Iranians not to enrich their uranium has bedeviled Western diplomats for decades.
Yes, it has. I mean, I can remember being in a room during the time of George W. Bush and having his head of the NSC say to me and several other people, look, this was toward the end of Bush's term, his end of his 8 years. He said, look, we could go in and we could use bunker busters and we could take out Iran's nuclear, enrichment, but we're going to let it go for the next team. I just was so disappointed that they wouldn't deal with that issue, that huge problem for the rest of the civilized world. Remember, the people of Iran are young, they're smart, they're industrious, they deserve to have opportunity like young people do in the UK. But instead, they're ruled by these hardline mullahs who have taken every freedom away from women. They're completely subjugated. But we can remember just in 2022, when the people of Iran rose up after the regime killed that beautiful young girl, Mahsa Amini, I believe her name was. And no leader in the Western world would say, the people of Iran, we stand with you. No one. If they had, this story may have turned out differently. But today, there's another opportunity for the leaders of the free world to stand with the people of Iran against the mullahs and say, yes, we have your back. You deserve. There's a group that I was just with a few days ago, the National Resistance of Iran. And what they're saying is they want to have a secular government. They want to have elections that are free and fair. They want women to have equal opportunity. And they want a secular society, so freedom of religion, and women would not have to wear the hijab. There would be no more religious police, but instead they would have courts that would be fair, the way the Western courts, have, with the judges that are not compromised and representation, the right to appeal. It's pretty exciting, but the people of Iran need us to have their back at this moment.
And would that involve, in your view, at least leaving on the table the prospect of the US using bunker busting bombs, because they've got the technology? I don't even think the Israelis do have that technology. We've certainly heard that. So would you want Trump to leave on the table if you don't get a deal that actually convinces him it is possible the Americans could destroy the facilities?
Well, I think there are American Air Force B-2s and B-52s at Diego Garcia right now with bunker buster bombs. And so all President Trump has to do after he meets with his NSC, his council, is decide to use them if that's his choice. He's an America First president. He knows this is not our war. This is a war that Israel is, operating against Iran, and with good reason. If we look at what Iran funded with Hamas and Hezbollah, the Houthis are further away, but Houthis as well. and then how they were really the instigators behind October 7th, and then the two subsequent attacks that Iran prosecuted on Israel that caused them. They had no choice. Remember, like Golda Meir said famously, when someone says that they want to kill you over and over, you should believe them.
So just to be clear, Carla, would you advise me at least to keep that on the table? Because I think that's an interesting point, because we know Trump doesn't like being involved in foreign wars. That's a very fair point. But equally, do you think it should at least be available as an option to him to say, we are willing to send those bombs in?
You know that that's President Trump's MO. He always says he will take no option off the table. He's a master negotiator, but if he has to go in, he will strike, and he will strike hard. And he warned the mullahs. He said, I'm giving you every opportunity. Now, I mean, there's still an opportunity for them to say, look, we'll give up the nuclear weapons. We want to make our country great. But the fact is, the people have not profited. It's been money flowing to the rich elite, the mullahs and their cronies in Iran. Meanwhile, they have, I think it's 50-60% inflation. Things are not going well for the people of Iran. And it's about to get a whole lot worse if they don't change their tactics.
Do you think that's why Trump didn't want to sign the G7 agreement calling for a ceasefire? Because, again, he wants to leave options of some degree of intervention on the table.
Well, wouldn't you think so?
Well, yeah, I might think so, but you're the expert, Carla. That's why I'm talking to you.
Well, but I think, we've had President Trump be president for 4.5 years, right? 4 years this first term, almost 6 months now, or about 6 months into his second term. So I think, we understand that he does like to keep every option open. He's going to do what's best for the American people, but he also knows that Israel is our greatest ally in the Middle East. And I think there's a whole lot of support for what's happening from many of these Muslim majority nations, because they understand that these mullahs, since 1979, 1980, and then right after that, when they came into power, they have been like a festering sore in the Middle East. And wouldn't it be amazing to have more countries join the Abraham Accords and even have Iran under new management? I'm not calling for regime change, but I'm just saying, if the people of Iran are able to rise up, and the people of Iran, this group that I'm talking about, the national resistance, they're not asking for money. They're not asking for boots on the ground. They're saying they want to do this, but they need us, the community of nations, the Western world for sure, but some of the other countries as well, to say, we support what you're doing. We have your back. And to be vocal about it, to be out there and be loud about it, because we have turned our back on the people of Iran and allowed these mullahs to get away with so many abuses.
Would they want regime change? The people you're talking about, would they want regime change brought about by Israel? Though I guess that's the question. That it seems Trump may have vetoed an Israeli request to assassinate the Ayatollah. We know
I heard
that
too. Yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting, right? Well, I think the people of Iran are going to have to take care of this, because, like you just said, it sounds like President Trump did veto the fact. I mean, Israel's shown they can take out basically anybody. And so with precision, it's like pinprick, assassinations. They really, and for them to tell the people of Tehran, look, get out, we're coming after the military. I mean, they've been very humane, if you could say that about this whole thing. They don't just go in like Russia's been doing in Ukraine and just take out the civilians. In this case, in every case, Israel lets the population know that they're coming in whatever way they are, and to please get out. And I really admire that. I think if you're going to do it, it's the right way. So Israel, they have some hard choices to make, because their survival is on the line. Iran does say, death to Israel, death to America. It is the regime's chant from the highest level. So I think, Israel's doing what they have to do. And I know that Bibi Netanyahu doesn't have a lot of fans there in the UK, but I mean, if this were your country, you'd want your leader to be taking care of business and keeping you safe, I think.
Interesting point, Carla. Fascinating to talk to you. It's very kind of you to take the time to talk to us. Thank you for joining us.
It's such a pleasure to be with you. Thanks, Dick.